Good morning, students. We are back with chapter 4, part A, where we'll be introducing first what business service is, and then we'll be taking the first element of it, that is insurance. So in this, we are going to deal with business services and the first element of it, that is insurance. First, we'll be taking up nature of services. When we talk of business services, what exactly do we refer to? So the first thing is, as you could see, services are being rendered by an agency, by a person. So these services are intangible in nature. Intangible in nature. That is, you can feel it, but you cannot touch it. For example, the services of a doctor that you could see over here on the slide. Then we can say a teacher teaching, the quality of teaching can be felt. You cannot touch it. Second is inconsistency. And the best example is the phones which are available, the technology part, that as and when the demand occurs, depending upon the need of the hour, you come up with the changes in your services. So there is inconsistency. You keep on changing as per the requirement of the customer, of the time, and of the situation. Then there's inseparability. The one who's rendering services and the product or the activity that is being imparted cannot be separated. For example, when you go to parlor, when the lady is putting all those cream powder on you, putting of those things is a part of the services and it cannot be separated from the act of the lady as a specialist in the parlor. So it is inseparable. Then the fourth one is, since you are rendering services and it's an instant activity, there's no inventory required. There's no inventory required. Now next we come down to a comparative assessment of services and goods on different bases. First, what we had seen that services, their activity or process, whereas goods, their physical object which could be touched. So the second comes from it, that services are intangible, goods are tangible. Then services are inconsistent and goods are consistent. Then separation part, if we take, services are inseparable from that of the provider, whereas goods are separable. And then inventory. No inventory is required in services, whereas in goods, you need to have inventory. Now we come with the first business services, insurance. As you could see on the screen, umbrella, that means giving protection. And the house, that means you have something which is valuable to you and there's a risk of losing it. So you need a protection. Now we'll see how this insurance works. See the three parties over here. The first one is the insurer, that is the insurance company which is coming for the insurance. The other party is insured, and whatever element you want to insure, whether it is your property, yourself. And the third is the contract in between them, which decides the premium and the claim to be paid. So this is how it works into three compartments which are interlinked: insurer, insured, and the contract in between them. Now we'll be dealing with various principles of insurance which are underlying fact for any sort of insurance. We'll move again clockwise one by one, starting from utmost good faith, insurable interest, then indemnity, subrogation, mitigation, causa proxima. The first one we take utmost good faith. Now, if the word utmost good faith is given, most of you, on the basis of your common sense, can write 2 to 3 lines. But if we use the word abrine fede, what you could see at the bottom in the second compartment of the diagram, this is the original word. We have simplified it for teaching purpose. Actual principle is principle of abrine fede, and it is derived from Latin, which means utmost good faith, a legal doctrine which governs insurance contract, and it means there should be full disclosure, which is crucial. Now, the cartoon is also there in front of you, where two parties are there disclosing all the facts. So what happens here is that it is expected that while you are entering into a contract of insurance, all the material facts are to be disclosed which can affect the insurance contract. Otherwise, it will become void. You will not get any compensation. Let us take, for example, a patient is suffering from a disease and it is at an incubation stage. No pathological test could reveal what is there. But the patient, maybe due to genetic history of that disease, or he himself being in that profession, can make out that he is suffering from this disease. So he goes for his insurance. And suppose something happens wrong, at the time of compensation, it is revealed that the patient was aware of the fact and has intentionally not disclosed this thing to the insurance company, he will not get any compensation because there was breach of trust. Utmost good faith was not taken up over there. Take up insurable interest. The moment we say insurable means vested interest, and you'll get compensation if and only if you have insurable interest or your vested interest in that particular subject property or matter. For example, if you go to bank and you want to go for your property, maybe house, and you want loan against it, or you want to insure it if there is a mishappening, the compensation will go to you, not to your neighbor who might have been much more connected to your house compared to what you are. For you, it was a property. You never lived in that. But for your neighbor, it was a live vision of something. So his attachment was more. The same way, we can say maybe there is an old couple staying next to your door, very attached you people are to that person, but when he dies, you will not get anything. His nominees who have direct vested interest in his life or in their life, if it is a couple case, will get the compensation of the insurance. Now, third is indemnity. To indemnify means to compensate and bring a person to a position as if there had been no mishappening. That means you cannot make profit out of this contract of indemnity. It is only to compensate. So here we compare two amounts, actual amount and the loss. When I say actual amount, it refers to the amount of the loss and the policy value. Whichever is less is to be paid. Whichever is less is to be paid. And then there's a separate color I have used to underline this point, that all insurances except life insurance and personal accident insurance are based on principle of indemnity, because life of a person cannot be valued. Life of a person cannot be valued, therefore principle of indemnity is not there. We only talk about the policy value. We only talk about the policy value over there. Next is causa proxima or proximate cause. Causa proxima or proximate cause. That means a mishappening could occur due to n number of causes. You will get compensation if the mishappening is because of the cause mentioned in the contract. And it should be the immediate one. It should be the immediate one. For example, if there is a fire and it is a fire which you have insured for domestic reason, and it is due to the fire which exploded in the petrol pump which was an adjacent activity or event to your house. Now, since you had not mentioned that there was a petrol pump near your house, you will not get compensation. There was no domestic reason. Had it been that it was due to the domestic cause of short circuit in the house or cylinder blast, you could have got. So the immediate reason. Then similarly, we have taken one example of your NCRT for a ship sinking and the cargo going for a waste. The insurance was against the sea peril, and the cause was the rats who had entered. But since the immediate cause was the water, you will get it. Now, subrogation means substitution. You need to remember those acronyms in order to remember the entire. This story comes automatically on its own. In subrogation, that is substitution, what happens once you have been compensated? The right of the property goes to the insurance company. So whatever scrap value comes out of the product which has been lost will go to the insurance company. What you could see in this vehicle, which is being totally damaged and loaded on the truck. Once you are getting your full insurance amount, now the insurance company will take this car, they will sell it as scrap and it is their property. That means the insurance company, after compensating you, enters into the shoes of yours. Next is principle of contribution. Now see to it what it is. According to this contribution, when the subject matter is insured with two or more insurance companies, that means the concept of double insurance is coming here. Then the actual amount of loss is divided among the various insurers in the way that the liability of one insurer is equal to the sum insured with that insurer divided by the total sum insured into the loss. So in the proportionate amount, all would be paying. So it is being contributed. So it is a concept of double insurance. It's the last one, mitigation of loss. Mitigation means what? Minimization. And it is expected as a man of ordinary prudence. It is your duty to take all the preventive measures to minimize the loss of the property. If any expenses incurred by him for such activity, He's entitled to get that much of amount along with the compensation from the insurance company. Now, that seems to be pretty easy, but let us see. I have used the word as a man of ordinary prudence. So suppose if there is a fire in your house, have you taken the immediate necessary step of intimating safety measures, for example, fire brigade people? Have you switched off your main line if there is a short circuit fire in a warehouse? And then whatever is the loss, you will get it. But if suppose there is a mob who has entered your colony and the vehicles are on the road and they start putting it on fire, and then we say, no, you should have put your vehicle inside your campus. It's practically a foolish act of an individual. So here we'll not take up this. Here the wise decision was to be inside and keep yourself safe. So we always use the word, you need to minimize the loss. Take all the necessary steps to minimize. Don't sit idle as if the entire amount will be given, so you need not worry. Take all measures as if the commodity is not insured. After this principles, we'll take up types of insurance. Type of insurance where we generally take up into two major classifications, life insurance and general insurance. Then this general insurance is further subclassified into marine insurance, fire insurance, and there are some other small insurances which are coming. We'll be taking only those which are there included in your syllabus, and that also in a very brief they have taken, that you should be aware of the concept that these are existing. Not that detail is required. So we'll move one by one to all types of. The first one you can see life insurance, and if you could see LIC, dominated market of insurance of life till 2000, late 2000s we can say. And nowadays we see there are many others who have entered this market. You have HDFC, you have Birla Sun Life, Max Life, Bajaj Alliances, and they all are being recognized by RDA Act, Insurance Regulatory Development Act. Now, as you could see in life insurance, we are giving protection to human life. Human life. So the life of a human being cannot be compensated in terms of money. Therefore, the first thing that I had told are the principle of indemnity. That principle of indemnity is not applicable in life insurance. First part. Second, it is also known as life assurance because there is dual benefit of investment as well as safety. That is, money is paid anyways. That means either after the death or after the expiry of the duration, whichever is earlier. Whichever is earlier. So these two things you need to remember. Life insurance, principle of indemnity is not applicable, and it is also known as life assurance because it has a dual benefit of investment as well as safety. Now we take different types of life insurance policies. Different type of life insurance policies. The first one we say is whole life policy. Now this policy is taken for one's whole life and the payment will be made to the legal heir even if the premium is payable for a fixed period, say 20 years, the policy will continue till the death of the assured. Then is endowment policy, which is taken for a specified period, and this period is usually long, 20 years, 15 years, and so on. Insurance company undertakes to pay a fixed sum when the assured attains a particular age or on his death, whichever is earlier. Whichever is earlier. Then is joint life policy, normally in between husband and wife, in between partners, it takes place. So it is a policy taken out jointly by two or more persons. Premium can be paid jointly or by any one of them in installments or lump sum. This policy matures either on the death or any of the assured or at the expiry of the period. Then is annuity policy. We say it's more like a pension plan. In this policy, the assured gets a regular payment after a particular age. So normally people keep it 60. At 60 you retire after that. The premium is paid either in installments for a definite period or as a single premium. Then is children's endowment policy. This policy is taken by a person to provide funds for education or marriage of his or her children. If a parent dies before the maturity, the policy will continue to exist even without the payment of further premium. So this is the biggest benefit in it. The future of your children is assured here. The second one is fire insurance. Fire insurance. Now, fire insurance is a contract in which the insurer agrees to pay the loss or damage caused by fire to the insured. Now, the next point to be very alert, this contract exists only for 1 year. You have to renew it. And the claim for compensation should satisfy following conditions. There must be an actual loss and the fire is accidental and non-intentional. It should be an accidental and non-intentional. Now next is marine insurance. Now this is very important because here for our export-import purpose, when we see for our merchant group, it is important. When your vessel is on the voyage, this marine insurance gets activated. Here vessel means ship and voyage is journey. So in marine insurance, what happens? It is a contract whereby the insurer agrees to indemnify the owner of the ship or the cargo against the risks which are incidental to marine adventure in consideration of a premium. It covers a variety of risks like sinking or burning of the ship, spoilage of cargo, freight losses, etc. Now, we'll take up subject matter or the elements in the marine insurance. What are the things you go for insurance? The first we could see is the vessel itself is a huge investment and the owner of the vessel goes for this. He insures the vessel, the ship, the hull is a synonym. Hull is a synonym. Then second, the cargo, goods which are being loaded on the ship and transported from one port to other. Now here it depends who would take that insurance. The one who's sending or the one who's receiving. It depends upon the contract in between them. The concern is that the second element is the cargo or the goods. Then is freight. Now, you could see that due to certain reasons at times, the route has to be changed and it takes longer duration. Now, the loss in the freight is to be taken, the journey cost. And last but not the least, I've taken in the form of star mark because liability here refers to the liability to the third party. A has sent goods to B through vessel, and due to change in the route or due to some other problem, B has not received good in time, and B in return has agreed in a venture with C. Now, this third party C, if there is delay in the commodity, needs to be compensated. So this liability insurance is going to take coverage of the loss which is enforced by the claim of the third party. So it is liability for the third party, which is arising due to the delay in the product, which is reaching late. Now, if we see the basic difference in between the three, life, fire, and marine. First is subject matter. What exactly is being insured? In life insurance is the human life, fire insurance any physical property or asset, and in marine it is ship, cargo, freight, or liability with star mark that I had told. Purpose. In case of life it is dual, protection and investment, and in case of fire and marine in both it is protection only. Now insurable interest. Please be very alert on this. In case of life insurance, insurable interest must be present at the time of acquiring the policy. It is not necessary that it is there at the time of maturity. We'll take examples when we'll be dealing with the question answer session. Like husband and wife, they took their joint life policy. Now, there was divorce in between the two, and then if one of the person or the spouse is no more, would the second get the compensation? He or she will get, whoever is left. Because when they took the policy, there was no misunderstanding. It was a joint policy. Then in fire insurance, it must be present at the time of contract and also when the claim falls due. Both the time. Because 1 year is a very short time. You need to decide. So claim only when it is at both the time present. Insurable interest. And marine insurance, it must be present at the time when the claim falls due. When the claim falls due. This point is important. Then there's the policy amount. Life insurance, any amount. It's up to you how you value your life. In fire insurance, it can't be more than the value of the subject matter. And in marine insurance, it cannot be more than the market value of the goods. Then is the duration. Life insurance is usually for a longer range of 5 to 30 years. Fire insurance for 1 year. And marine insurance is taken for a year or a period of voyage or mixture of both. Or mixture of both. Indemnity now. Principle of indemnity. It is not applicable in case of life insurance, whereas in fire insurance and in marine insurance it is applicable. Measurement of loss in case of life insurance is not possible because we do not value or we cannot value a life. And in fire and marine we do, so it's possible. Surrender value. Now, in case of life insurance, it has a surrender value and it can be surrendered before maturity. In fire insurance, it does not have a surrender value, and in marine insurance also, you don't have a surrender value. Then is contingency of risk. In case of life insurance, element of risk is certain because the amount has to be paid either on the death or a maturity, whichever is earlier. Now, element of risk is uncertain as mishappening may or may not take place, and the same is with the marine also. That it's only when there's happening of the risk that we'll get. So if there's no risk, nothing to get. Now we come to other types of insurances. We're taking in a very brief manner because they're not gone in very detail. They've only given out briefly. Health insurance, in case of your any medical hospitalization, all the expenses, they have to be taken up in this health insurance. Then accident insurance, you get compensation. If you Then is cattle insurance, which people do to ensure, and there are certain criteria like you're going to insure a cattle only if it goes with a specific limit. For example, it should be a cow should be in a position to give more than 20 liters of milk and so on. The certain criteria mentioned in the contract. Then is bulgari insurance. If there's theft in your house, you, on the basis of a rough average that these are the commodities in my house, you get insurance for that. Crop insurance, where you're scared that due to flood or famine, your crop might spoil. Farmers, they go for this insurance. Sports insurance, for the legal benefit, for the sports equipment, and for the accidents in case of sports. This insurance is taken up by the sports people. Then is accident insurance. Accident insurance. Here, in case of any accident, now please, we have taken two accidents. I would like to clarify here. One is with reference to your vehicle and third party, and a general accident part, we take a personal accident insurance and accident insurance. Then is fidelity insurance. This becomes very important, that if you have kept an employee, you check his biodata, his qualifications, you check on his work efficiency. But what about his attitude towards work? There is a common disorder, we say kleptomania. It's a tendency of stealing. If your cashier runs away with money, so the organization insures against this, against the embezzlement or fraudulent activities of an employee. And you give a specified amount that my cash or my accountant is dealing with this much of cash. So in case of any mishappening, you'll get that much. Maybe he was actually having more money or could be less, but the amount that has been insured will be paid. Now, third party insurance. Here, in case of any mishappening, the third party who has suffered because of the two would be compensated. This part has to be insured. And last one, you see employer's liability insurance. Your employees are your liability while they're on the work, and during the work, if there's an accident or there's a injury, there's a loss, the employer's liability is insured to compensate these mishappenings. Now, these are more or less, there are many more types of insurances, but we'll be restricting up to this much only. Stay tuned, keep on learning, and for any query, I'm always available. Thank you.